Good afternoon, all of you. I hope I'm clearly visible and audible to everybody. Right. So I welcome you to this session. Today we have some very interesting MAHCET sentence improvement questions. Okay. So all these questions have been framed keeping in mind the kinds of questions that have come in the past years. Right. So you will find some very different types of questions that you might not have encountered in your normal error spotting sentence correction questions. Okay. So that's what we are going to do today. Good afternoon. I hope you're able to see me clearly. Yes? Just confirm once because I am not able to see myself. All right. Okay, perfect then. Perfect. So, good afternoon, Sanil, the Wish Sailor, Laptop, Vineet, Sweetie, good afternoon. All right. So, let's begin. Now, straight away, I have a question type for you. This is a different question type, right? So read the instructions carefully and then the next 4 questions will be of this type itself, right? And let's learn some grammar concepts through these questions. Okay, so here's your first question. Have a look at it and tell me what the answer should be. Yes. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, all of you. Okay. Yes, I hope all of you are reading the question right now. Okay. Perfect. Reading the question, I hope, trying to attempt it. No, no. We started at 12 itself. Yes. E, okay. I've got one response. Ashish, good noon. What do you say? All right. Good afternoon, Bin Laden. Hello, Prem. So, E, A. All right. Let's see what else I get. Just 4 responses. Okay. Siba is saying A. Okay. So, you have a combination of options here. You can make use of these options. Okay, you can attempt these questions smartly like that. Okay, so a lot of you are saying A. Let's have a look now. So I divided the sentence into 3 parts, right, as per the instructions. Now, real life crime scene investigators and forensic scientists warn that Yes, so it's a general warning that they give. It's not like in the past they warned about it, now they don't do it any longer, right? So they warned that. Now, this that means is correct. We do not really need one. We do not really need this correction statement one, right? So see, determine the part. Acha, we have to determine the part that requires correction. So one does not require correction, isn't it? One does not require correction. So that means one is fine and therefore C and E cannot be our answers. Okay. Often wildly distorting its nature. And okay, should it be exaggerate or should it be exaggerating? Often wildly distorting its nature and exaggerate or exaggerating. Yes, tell me. So this becomes a parallelism concept. So what do they do? Often we are saying often distorting and often exaggerating. Shouldn't I say this? In the interest of consistency? Yes, often distorting, often exaggerating. So 2 is the correct one. Okay, so that means this 2 requires correction. 2 requires correction. So A is not our answer. Okay, it's either only 2 or 2 and 3. Let's see. Which they are describing, again incorrect, which they describe as. So 3 also requires correction. So I think you missed this exaggerating part in 2. That's why most of you said A. The answer here is D. Did anyone say D? Okay, Prem said D. Ashish said D. Very good. Okay, perfect. So I hope we learned the rule of parallelism here, that we have to try and keep words serving similar functions consistent. Okay, often doing A, often doing B, right? That's why only 2 and 3. D is our answer. Hope this makes sense to everybody and I can proceed. Again, a similar question type here. Fowler liked hyphens, although he wished that when people use them, they are often guided by common sense. Right. So, same instructions. Tell me what the answer should be. Let's see what you say here. Okay. D Delhi. I've got my first response. C. Okay. So D, C, B also. Okay. What else? D Delhi. Okay. So C is winning so far. Okay. Okay. Let's see. So here, I have been told that Fowler liked hyphen. So I think was liking is incorrect. Everybody can see that, right? Remember, we had this session called 15 grammar rules. In that, I discussed with you that there are certain verbs that are never used in the continuous sense. Okay, so continuous tense, that's what I meant. So Fowler was liking hyphens is incorrect. Okay, Fowler liked. Either you like something or you don't like something. Okay, saying that I am liking it or I am loving it, that is an informal way of putting it. In formal English, it is incorrect. Okay, so one is definitely not the answer, right? Although he wish, see if liked, if we have used liked here, I should use wished here. So although he did wish or although he wished, that is what I need here. Okay. Now, second, therefore, is the correct one. Although he did wish, that when people used them. So that means D is eliminated. Okay. Between B and C. So C has 1, right? Good. So R again incorrect. We will keep it in the past tense. Okay. They were often guided by common sense. He did wish that when people used them, they were often guided by common sense. So 2 and 3, very good. C is the answer here. Okay, I hope it makes sense to you. Like, we should not use it in the continuous tense. Wished, because if he liked it, he wished it, right? Tense consistency, right? Used them, they were often guided. People who used them were often guided. So, the rest of the sentence was about consistency, tense consistency. Okay. The third question here, let's see what you say. The third question. The editors covered the book world as if it was any other news beat. They assigned reviews that tends to be informative rather than interpretative, telling readers what books are being published, which of them might be worth purchasing, and which authors are on the rise. Let's see what you say this time. Often is missing. In the previous question, you are saying? Yes, often is missing here in 3. I agree with you there. Okay, so even I noticed this when I attempted this question. But the thing is that R is definitely incorrect. R has a grammatical error. Okay, also it's a wish. Also it's a wish that when people use them, they were guided. I wish कि लोग ऐसा करने लगे. That's the idea. That when people use them, they were guided. Saying that they were often guided by common sense would mean as if this was actually the case. This actually happened, whereas this is just a wish. Okay. So even if let's say you felt that often is missing in third, R is such a glaring error that third would still be fine. Let's see what you say. Easy one. Yes, बिल्कुल आती है हिंदी सलोनी. I just try to remain region neutral and not use it often. C, B, E, A. Okay. So only D is left now. C, B, E, A. I have already got. Okay. So they assign reviews, plural, that tend to be, right? Reviews that tend to be. That has been used for reviews. So reviews tend to be. So this is a subject-verb agreement error. Okay, easy to spot. That second is erroneous. Similarly, in this first part here, the editors cover the book world as if it was or as if it were. Which is correct? As if it was or as if it were? So when we use this structure as if it, okay. So and basically we are talking about an imaginary scenario, right? We're talking about a hypothetical scenario. The book world is not really the news world. Okay, it's not similar to a news beat. Okay, it's not similar to the news world, but the editors treat it this way. The editors actually cover the book world in this way, so they are treating it this way. It is not actually any other news beat. Okay, it is not actually similar to the news world. So the editors cover the book world as if it were. Whenever we talk about hypothetical scenarios, okay, imaginary scenarios, then was it no, is not used, were is used, right? So first one is I mean the needed correction, and second one is also the needed correction. Let's see if we have this option. Absolutely, B says 1 and 2. That is our answer. Okay, as if it were. Good. Ashish, Siddesh, good. Okay. So I hope this makes sense. Any query, ask me. These are some, I mean, this is a good question type. All right. The last question of this type then. Let's see this. Knowledge is not only a matter of seeing what is, it is also a matter of seeing what is not. Seeing the shadows of one thing in the shapes of another. Let's see what you say. What chahiye, which, okay, let's go back once, right? Some of you have some queries here. So right, so telling readers what books are being published. So I agree with you that here what kind of is what is meant by what books are being published. So it is a relatively informal way of putting this idea. Okay, so it would be better if, let's say, the examiner phrased it like this: what kind of books are being published. But when we compare, yes, so here what books and what books is the same. So that is why I didn't even pay attention to this. I just noticed the differences, right? Tens and ten, that is the difference. So I focused just on that. Okay. So what kind of books, however, is a better way of phrasing it. I agree. Now, the book world is singular. You are absolutely right in saying that. Who said this? Prem said this, right? You're absolutely right. The book world is singular. So even with singular entities, when we talk about hypothetical scenarios, we do not use was. There is no is, am, was. There is only were and there's only had. Okay. So we use were and had been or had done. Been or done, whatever. Been or whatever the action verb is, the third form of that. There is no was. Okay. Even with singular entities. I wish I were the emperor of so and so country, let's say. I wish I were, not I wish I was. Okay. Uh, so I hope that's clear. Now I've got a lot of responses for this one as well. Unanimously, people are saying C is incorrect. Okay. Some of you believe that, okay, one of you believes that B is incorrect. B is the one, the correct answer choice. Okay. What's wrong with C? The third part, the third fragment. Hmm. Yes, so basically you feel that the shadows of one thing is incorrect. It should be shadow of one thing. But in the shapes of, should it be another or the other? Yes. One thing, another thing. That's how we say this, no? One thing, another thing. So seeing the shadows of one thing in the shapes of another. Shapes is also plural, no? So shapes If there are multiple shapes, there are going to be multiple shadows, isn't it? Multiple shapes will make multiple shadows. Plural, plural. Parallelism, consistency. So shadows and shapes are fine. 3 is not erroneous. Okay, so 3 does not require a correction. So seeing the shadows of one thing in the shapes of another and not the other, this is incorrect. This is incorrect. Okay, 3, no, it does not need correction. 1 and 2. 1 and 2 are also fine. No correction required in this question. No correction required. So knowledge is not only, see, not only a matter, so not only X, but also Y, but also a matter. Again, so there is perfect consistency here. X and Y, if I call them X and Y, they are consistent with each other, right? And this is used, this is called M dash. This is used for explanations when you are further elaborating something that you've just stated. Okay, it's used for explanation, elaboration. So seeing the shadows of one thing in the shapes of another. Okay, so if I'm saying shapes, it should be shadows. If I'm saying shape, then it should be shadow, right? But here shadow and shapes again inconsistent. या तो दोनों singular या दोनों plural. ठीक है? So no correction required here. All right. Hope this makes sense to everybody now. So this was one question type wherein a sentence is divided into parts, and unlike your usual error spotting questions where you just have to find out the erroneous part, here you have to look at the correction also and see if it's the right correction or not. Right? Let's come to another question type. Okay. So here we have a sentence part or whole of which is underlined. Right? Then we have 5 ways of phrasing this. The first is just a repetition of the original. The first is this only, what has been underlined. The other 4 are different. So yes, find out which is the best way of writing this underlined part. Yes, let's see what you say. Good, good. Laptop Savant. Let's see what you say. All right. B, C, D, E. D. I've got 3 D's so far. 4 D's. 5 D's, sorry. 6, all right, all right. So James Conant, so in such questions, you should first read the entire sentence, okay? No matter whether this part of it is underlined or not underlined. James Conant began recruiting, so past tense. Okay, so what he began something. What did he begin? He began recruiting nationally. He began recruiting nationally and selecting. Should it be selected? Should it be selecting? What should it be? Yes, because that is the difference. That is one of the major differences among the options, right? So see again parallelism. He began exercising and let's say cooking or swimming. So both have the ing form, right? Similarly, he began recruiting and selecting. He began recruiting and selecting. So this is fine. Selected is not going to be the correct answer. From selecting does not make sense here. So C was also easy to eliminate. Now the choice is between A and E. Let me see how many of you marked that. Okay. All right. E, I've got one E. Sanil says E. Ash said E. Siddesh said E. Okay. And selecting for accomplishments rather than lineage. Right. So, whereas E says selecting in an accomplished manner on lineage. Is it? Rather than relying heavily on standardized tests. The intention is to say that this guy paid more attention to merit, to accomplishments, rather than, let's say, the ancestry of a person, the lineage of the person. So, how did he accomplish this? Relying heavily on standardized tests. Okay. So, the answer is A. A was absolutely fine. The original sentence was absolutely fine. What has happened today? I understand that the questions today are slightly tricky. That's because over the years I have seen such unique questions in MAHCET. Okay, such different kinds of questions when it comes to sentence improvement. That's why we kept a whole session on it. Okay. All right. So A is the answer. I hope the sentence is now clear to you. The meaning is now clear to you. Okay. Now, question 6. Yes. Let's have a look. Now read the whole thing, not just the underlying parts. Spot the differences and eliminate. Why shouldn't it be relied? Okay. So there's a question here. I'm just going back to the previous slide for a few seconds. Why should it not be relied? So if let's say, if you are saying that it should be selected and relied, let's say, okay, or I mean, basically these are the combinations that exist. In that case, shouldn't there be an and? He selected for accomplishments rather than lineage and relied heavily on standardized tests. Okay, so no, the recruiting, selecting, relying, they are all parallel to each other. They are consistent with each other. Relied would become inconsistent. Okay, if you want to say, if let's say you want to put them as two separate sentences, then yes, you can put a full stop after this and say he relied. That is why he relied heavily on standardized tests. Then it would be fine. Okay. Hope this makes sense. Prem, you can, if you are saying it should be consistent with began, that means you are not really focusing on the meaning of this sentence. The meaning of this sentence is not that he began two things and he relied. The meaning is that he began this thing rather than this. And how did he begin this thing? By relying heavily on standardized tests. Okay, so this is related to the part A of this. It's not something that is a separate sentence, a separate idea after beginning. Okay, ये उस recruiting the उस beginning का process ही है, relying heavily on standardized tests. Okay. Hope this makes sense to everybody. Any query, ask me. It's okay. Sometimes I take certain things for granted, but then you highlight it and I realize that, okay, these are very pertinent questions. So please feel free to ask questions. Okay, let's see what your response is here. What is antiquity? Antiquity. B, okay. From antiquity, filled with strategies to counter dogmatic tendencies, whether in ourselves or in other people. Okay. Terry says C. Very good. Most of you are correct here. Almost all of you are saying B. B is the answer. See, there were a number of clues here on the basis of which you could have eliminated. Antiquity means the old times. Okay. Old times. So, from that period, right? It's a period. So, from that period, not for that period. Antiquated with strategies. Antiquated, something that has become old with strategies. No. To antiquity, incorrect. So it's between A and B. Okay, filled up of strategies, no, filled with strategies. Fill up is to basically make a container, let's say full of a liquid or something else, right? Filled with strategies, that means it is full of strategies to counter, not for counter. Okay, to counter. So B is the clear answer choice here. Right, antiquity, old times. What are dogmatic tendencies? What is dogmatic? What is dogmatic? Dogma. Dogma means rigid beliefs. Okay, the rigid beliefs of a person are dogma, right? Dogmatic is somebody who is very rigid in his or her beliefs, right? So, two new vocabulary words for you in case you didn't know the meanings of antiquity and dogmatic. Right. Yes. Let's have a look at this question now. Again, the first one is a repetition. The other four are different. Dogmatic people, yes, they tend to be very prescriptive that, okay, this should be done, this should not be done. And they have very rigid beliefs that they're not willing to change. Okay. What do you say about this question? Scientists are divided about the Great Flood and still debating whether it was gradual and or we realize that, okay, this is incorrect, right? A is incorrect. What about the other options? C, D, B, that's what I've got. Okay, anyone who says E? C, all right. E, okay. So Minar and Sanu are correct here. Pratik is also correct. The answer is D, Delhi. Whether the flood was gradual or destructive. Now see, let's eliminate the other options. They are debating if the flood was gradual or caused great destruction. Okay, so here two things. Uh, first of all, debating about, no, when you say debate, that means you are in a way arguing about something. So the about is inherent in it, right? Similarly, we never discuss about something, we discuss something, right? So about is redundant and hence eliminate. Then if you look at E, whether there was gradual flooding, okay, whether there was gradual flooding or it caused. What does this it refer to? Yes. What caused great destruction? Flooding caused great destruction. It should be the flood caused great destruction. We can't say the flooding, whether there was gradual flooding or it caused great destruction. There is no antecedent for this it. Okay. Then, so we are eliminating this. Now, whenever we have two clear alternatives, we should use whether. There are two clear alternatives here, whether X or Y. So in this case, we should not use if, first of all. Secondly, parallelism says that when you have whether or, because they exist together as alternatives, the X and Y should look like each other. They should be parallel. They should be consistent. So it's only in this, whether the flood was gradual, whether it was gradual or destructive. So adjective, adjective, whether it was X or Y, right? So I hope this makes sense to you. D is our answer choice. About was redundant. It did not have an antecedent here. If should not have been used here, right? And this and or makes this absolutely incorrect. So D is the answer here. Dogmatic is not positive. Dogmatic is a negative word. It means somebody who has these rigid beliefs and they expect obedience without being questioned. Okay. The flood itself. So, and still debating whether there was gradual flooding or it caused. So you are saying that okay, that this refers to this flood here because यहाँ पर तो flooding use हुआ है, right? So you are saying that it refers to this. So again, still, even if let's say I accept this, although there would be a confusion as to whether it refers to flooding or it refers to flood, even if I accept this, whether and or, they should have this X and Y that is consistent. Is the X and Y consistent here? Whether there was gradual flooding or it caused. Shouldn't it then say or there was dash, let's say, quick destruction, something of that sort. So there was structure should match, right? But that's not happening here. Okay, so this is the most succinct, the most grammatically correct way of writing this sentence. Hope this makes sense to you. D Delhi. Okay. So some good questions today, some good level questions, right? Because you can get such a level in your exam also, right? We have seen some questions in the past that have not been that easy, right? So preparing you for the worst. If you found value in the session so far, please go and press the like button. That really helps us, okay? And do share it with your friends who are preparing for MHCT. If you have any queries, you can comment later on. I try to reply to almost all of them, right? And it goes without saying that do subscribe to our channel so that you don't have to worry about when my next class is, okay? You will get notification, right? Sometimes even I forget when my next class is. So just subscribe and press the bell icon. Okay, so question 8. What do you say? Sentence has been expressed in 5 different ways. Which of these ways is correct? C, okay. Others, E, all right. E again. Okay, B, E. Okay. For the past 75 years, the lingua franca of an average American had been classical music due to its pervasive nature and regular hearing by people. Okay. B, all right. Okay. Now, we are saying, okay, we need to understand whether this thing was the case 75 years ago or whether it is something that uh, has been going on. Okay. So, if you are saying for the past 75 years, for the last 75 years, okay, she has been or had been the president, no, not, okay, fine, the president for the last, let's say she's a popular one, for the last 10 years, right? So what will you say? Has or had? Last or past, whatever you want to write. For the past 10 years. Has or had, what will you write here? I've just simplified E for you. She has been the president for the last or the past 75 years, or she had been the president. If let's say you say she had been, if you use she had been, then the question arises, then what happened? If you use had been, that means, okay, you are talking about a scenario of the past. Then the natural question that arises is, then what happened? So she had been the president of the society for 10 years when a new candidate came and swept the polls. Right. Now the sentence is complete. So whenever we use the past perfect, whenever we use the past perfect, there has to be another subsequent action in the past simple tense that has to take place. Right. So here, for the past 75 years, the lingua franca of an average American had been is incorrect because there is no second action that is taking place here. Right. Past perfect, again, I have discussed this with you in the grammar rules session. We use the past perfect when we want to talk about two things that happened in the past, one after the other. And the first one got completed either before the second thing started or by the time the second thing started. Okay, so this is incorrect. Absolutely. About 75 years past does not make sense. 75 years before is incorrect. Back is informal. This we do use in our conversations. We use it colloquially, but it is informal. So before no, past no, they are incorrect. We are left with just this. Some 75 years ago, classical music. Now you must be thinking, why some? Don't we say in Hindi also? I'm just translating it for the sake of simplicity. You shouldn't always do this. कुछ 50 साल पहले की बात है. So some 75 years ago means approximately 75 years ago. Approximately 75 years ago, classical music was a lingua franca, the language of the people for the average American, regularly heard and pervasive in mainstream popular culture. So that was the case 75 years ago. It's no longer the case. That's what is being said here. Okay. Hope this makes sense to everybody. A is the answer. Okay, so that's how we need to know how to apply various concepts, right? So here, ultimately the concept of tenses are being applied, but we should know how to apply them, how to spot that tense error. Okay, A to E. Let's see what you say. Again, 5 ways of writing the sentence. The instructions remain the same. Why are we rejecting B? That's a question that has been asked. Just going back for a second. Okay, we are rejecting B because saying 75 years back is informal English. It is spoken English. In standard British English, you should say ago. Ago is the adverb that you should use. Okay, and not ago is the, sorry, some 75 years ago. This is an adjective here. Yes, adjective. That's the adjective that you need, not back. Right? Okay. To the average American is correct. Okay. The language for the American or the language to the American? What would you say? Language for for the average American or language to the average American? For, right? So not to. Okay. All right. Any other query in this? If there is, please ask. Okay, then let's go to the 9th. One option is very easy to eliminate. Let's see what you say here. Perfect, perfect. Lingua franca, Ashish, it means the language of the people. The common language is the lingua franca. The language of the masses, you could say. B, okay, E. Very good. All of you are correct. B is the answer. The jobs crisis. So, jobs crisis does require an article before it. So, D can be very easily eliminated. The jobs crisis in India, we're talking about a specific jobs crisis. So, it cannot be a jobs crisis. We could say, okay, a jobs crisis is looming in India, is looming large in India. That means, okay, a jobs crisis is brewing up. In that case, in that sense, it would be clear, right? But we are talking about this jobs crisis further. That okay, what are the causes? The jobs crisis in India is in large part, okay, not large partly. Large partly does not make sense. Okay, in large part, the result of the absence. The absence of what? Because it's a specific absence. The absence of a labor intensive manufacturing sector. Because it's a specific absence, that's why it will take the, right? So this was an articles question. So ultimately, we are applying some grammar concept or the other whenever we attempt various grammar questions, right? Sometimes it's just not very obvious to us. Let's see this one. Even partly will be eliminated. Correct. Correct, the wish Taylor. Last question for the day. I want your enthusiastic response. Yes. Sanil says C. Ashish says C. Okay. Khushbu, Amey, they also say C. Minar says C. Bharti says C. Okay. Krishna C. Mahima C. Natasha says B. At the vulnerability, do we throw light on something or do we throw light at something? So the phrase, the idiom is to throw light on, to shed light on, not to throw light at. So the options with at will be eliminated. Okay, at, at, eliminated. This was very crucial in this question, knowing that whether we should use on here or at here. Then we are left with the A and C, right? So A says the pandemic has thrown harsh light. So shouldn't it be a harsh light? A harsh light on the vulnerabilities and challenges faced in the world in education. Either you should say faced in the world of education, then it would make sense, right? So by the world in education, yes, this makes sense. Faced by the world in the area of education. So that's why C is the answer here. Perfect. Okay, those who said C, that is the answer. Most of you, I think, said C. I hope you've understood why not B and why not A. Okay, this in the world of education and throw a harsh light on. right? Any queries, ask me. I am still here, you are still here. Those who don't have any queries, please press the like button, right? And yes, you know about our course, our CAT 2022 comprehensive program, right? It's as the name suggests, it's very comprehensive. A lot of sessions, a lot of recorded plus live sessions, right? A lot of practice questions, plus some books, right? Plus preparation for second stage. So everything is covered in just one course, right? And yes, if you wish to stay connected with us, you can join our Telegram channel. If you are social media savvy, then you can follow us on various apps here, right? Various platforms. And I will see you now on Wednesday. Okay, I'll see you now on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Again, we'll meet with another session. Do attend, okay? And yes, keep preparing, more importantly. Okay, bye.